I wasn't full time, so I had no health insurance, I had no benefits, nothing like that. It was still a part-time gig. So I got an offer kind of last minute to run like a political talk show, which I hated. It was boring as hell, but it was and it was like conservative, so they were like all pro Trump and shit. It was terrible. But it was but the thing was, it was to get myself kind of because it's a gigantic company like iHeart, and it's a gigantic thing. So you can be working here and not know different people on different levels. It's like that's a lot going on. So I was like, all right, well, this at least get me in front of a lot of different people who run other shows. And it was full time. They basically put together like a thing where I would still do the overnights a couple days a week, and then I would go do this other show, and they would make me full time, same pay, but at least I was getting health benefits and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that for almost a year. I was miserable at it, but I kind of always felt like it was going to lead into something better. And then randomly got let go from that actual job, running the board for that job. Mm-hmm. They're like switching locations. I didn't want to leave like the music end over here, and they kind of were trying to keep me out for a little bit, and then basically out of nowhere pulled the rug from under me. It was like, hey, we don't need you to come in today, kind of thing. And I was like, damn. So what am I do for money now? I just gave up like half my shifts over here at the other radio station. Yeah. And just kind of kept my head up through that, and but I was never like. Never sent like a nasty email or nothing like that. It was always like when they said that, I was like, all right, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Anything ever pops up, just let me know. And thankfully I did it that way because the woman who runs that, it's called Premier Radio Networks, and basically Breakfast Club, we record here in New York, but it's syndicated all around the country. Right. So Premier is the company that's actually responsible for like it getting to Miami or getting to wherever. You know what I mean? Okay. They're the ones who send it out to all the other radio stations. Other cities. So the woman who runs that is very close with the boss over at Power 105.1, which is the station that the breakfast was based out of. Mm-hmm. So she kind of hit her up like, hey, Thea's name. Thea is looking for somebody who's good on the boards that she could trust. Would you be interested in maybe just coming in and meeting her? I did that, met with Thea. And even then, there wasn't like a job. It was just kind of like she was just kind of seeing who was available, who was around. Mm-hmm. And I just stayed on it. I would email like, hey, just want to follow up, whatever. I just kept paying attention, and then I was checking like our website, and I saw the job had gone up for that radio station. As soon as I saw that, I just kept running in there like, hey, give me a shot. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they did. And when I first started with the Breakfast Club, we have two studios we run the show out of. One that's like the side that gets thrown out to just New York, and one that's the national side, which is where Envy and all them sit, where I am now. So they originally just put me in there into that other studio, and I was just kind of running the local New York side, and then eventually made my way up to being one of the producers over there that's actually in the room with them. But it was a process, man. Even when I was in the room with Envy, that was around this time last year, and when they brought me into the room for the first time, and I was running their board for them. It still wasn't my job. Like I was doing that from March until August before that became my actual job, and I got a contract and like a raise and all that kind of stuff. So it was still a grind. It was still like waking up every day like, damn, this could end tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like if I mess up, then they could ask you just not to come back. You know?
Yeah, because I remember it was another dude before you that was.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and I was like, because I always wondered like, what was y'all doing? Like.
Yeah.
Like, by Envy and Nine makes sense. Like, y'all was pretty much in charge of everything with the sound and everything.
Yeah, right. Like, all, whenever you drop one of Goose bombs, any sound effects, stuff like that. Controlling their mics, but also we're handling basically every radio station around the country. So, Breakfast Club is 80 markets. Mm-hmm. So, if I mess up on the board, it messes up all 80 markets. So, I'm running the board basically for all 80 markets for the show. So that's what you're doing in that room with them.
So, that's that pressure. Like, you in 80 major markets. Like,
yeah, it was wild, honestly. That when I first got in there, bro, I'm not even gonna try to act like tough. You just put me in a room with three people that I had been listening to before I even got into radio that I never thought I'd be in a room with. Mm-hmm. Three of the most successful people, not only in our company but in all of radio. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sitting across from people like Kevin Hart, and I'm trying to not supposed to keep it together. You know what I'm saying? it's just not an easy job, a lot of pressure. So yeah, I had the worst like anxiety and just like, just really coming to work. There's a point where probably first month or so where I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this because it's just like I feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I'm going in there, and it's making me nervous. Like it's making me I'm getting up dreading going to work because I don't want to mess up. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of times I messed up at the beginning stages. But you persevere, you push through, and then eventually, your brain, everything else starts catching up to the job, and you're able to kind of, where you can make it through.
Right. And I was talking to Samantha too about like how it's like a family atmosphere, in the workplace, and like I want to know from your perspective, it's like how is it like working with Envy and Andrea Lee and Charlamagne and everybody else, that's part of the morning show.
I mean, I love it, man. It was definitely at the beginning. You had to kind of win them over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got to think these are people that have been doing this show for 8 years. Here I am, a new guy that wasn't like their hire. You know what I mean? If I wasn't like they were like, yo, we gotta let Dramos have this job. You know what I mean? It was the boss came in and was like, all right, we're gonna have Dramos try out for the job. Mm-hmm. So they don't know me like that. I hadn't worked in the other room, but we never we're in a separate room. We're never sitting down and having conversations like that. So. You're kind of going in there, you're filling out the room, you don't want to step on anybody's toes. You want to make sure that, the way that they do things, you're respectful of that, and you're not, doing anything to make them uncomfortable in their job. Right. But now, it's awesome. It's crazy to be a part of it, to have conversations with them, to get their opinion on things, especially a guy like Envy, who I look up to as a DJ and just what he's done with his career. Right. And, him investing in different things and how he is with his family and all these different things, man. It's wild to have somebody like that I can hit up and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or can I get you, can I pick your brain on this? Mm-hmm. And he's helped me out with stuff, even outside of the station. I can, if I asked him for a favor, he was, real talk, I was interested in like real estate stuff, and my credit was terrible, man. Yeah. And he hooked me up with like somebody who has just totally fixed my credit, like all like little stuff like that. It's like wow, like I appreciate stuff like that, Like he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to take the time to do that, but he does, And that's what's cool to me, to sit in a room with them and just kind of see what people who are at that level, how they do their stuff every day. It's crazy, man. It's great to be a part of it, honestly.
That's what's up, man. You semi-famous. Well, I ain't gonna say semi. You famous.
That, but I appreciate it.
Cause seriously though, cause I always tell like my guests on the show is that everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And everyone has their season and time, and when it happens, you just gotta take advantage of it and just continue to be consistent. And truth be told, people like myself and I know people that watch the show, they actually pay attention to you and everybody else that's around it, because they like, I want to maybe not want to be in that exact position, right? Like other positions, it kind of motivates them to, to do better in any career they want to get in. Cause they like, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be in radio personality, I want to be a DJ, I want to be an A&R for a big major label.
Yeah.
Everyone need that motivation. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, with the show especially, y'all give us that motivation, and it's just dope.
Absolutely.
It's dope.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, I always say, man, I'm not different than anybody else. I just showed up, I showed up and kept showing up. And that's really what it comes down to. And that, like you said, that has nothing to do with not just radio. That's just life. If you show up consistently, show up ready to work, and show up humble, ready to learn, ready to work, you're going to win at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody's going to bound to be like, all right, let me give this kid an opportunity, or ask you for your opinion, and when you get called upon, just be ready, but I really am a firm believer, if you keep showing up, there's no way in hell that you're not going to find success in some way or fashion,
Right. Anything's possible in this world. That's how I always tell myself that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's talk about your podcast, Beats and Booze. How that came about?
Yep. That came about, some of the radio crew that I'm friends with over here, we do a trip to Miami every year in March. Basically, they do Miami Music Week over there as like a big networking thing. So, basically, back then we used to squeeze like 20 of us in a hotel room. And, you got no choice but to get close with people at that point, so we all become friends. And a couple of the dudes that I stayed down there with, One of them worked here at the radio station. He was a producer. And another one of the dudes was A&R at a record label. And the boy Flips, who's a producer, he's always had this idea for doing a podcast, and he kind of just thought, me and our other dude's Spirit would be a good fit for it. So we kind of gave it a shot, and a couple years later, it kind of just kept rolling. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, that's what's up. Cause like I said, I never really got the chance to like listen to it, but I seen like the visuals and stuff, and I feel like I seen it like, that shit funny, like the way that y'all communicate with the artists and stuff, and it's just not like a regular. Like everyone want to be different, but I feel like everyone don't understand like trying to be different. You can't just say it; you have to like do it, and,
right.
And like I mean, when I started my podcast, I want to be different, So
I mean, that's how you can be. Everybody has a podcast these days. Everybody is a a rapper, a DJ, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out what is your lane that makes you different. And for us, we're the kind of dudes that we would always be hanging out. So you're basically seeing a couple friends hanging out, but we're the kind of dudes that like nothing was off limits. Like we would sit there and roast each other, on a regular day. So we do it on the podcast, we do it in front of celebrities, and that's just our thing. And that is what kind of started getting us our name, and in the industry, people being like, all right, well, we're gonna have you come on, Beats and Booze. This is like the fun show. You guys are gonna enjoy doing it. And that's like been like the main pitch, And a lot of artists, they love it because it's like talking to your friends, and that's always been the atmosphere. We want it to be like, you're kicking it, with your friends, and these are the types of dumb conversations that you would have, That's really the whole premise of the show, and why we never do what we do.
When was that moment when y'all, like, I guess, I don't want to say clout, but like, what was that moment when y'all realized that y'all show was going to another level, where you were starting to have like, bigger names come on the show or wanting to come on the show?
I mean, it was when people started hitting us up,
Yeah.
Like, because at first we basically would just look who's playing in New York City on, Friday or Saturday nights. Cool, we're gonna hit up their people. Then it's just getting to a point where we would just be getting offers left and right for people coming in. Like, yo, I got so and so coming into New York. You guys want to do an interview? And then when the major labels started coming through with like a lot of the bigger artists, we were getting these interviews. That's when it was just like, damn, like, okay, like people kind of pay attention to what we're doing, and people are messing with it.
Was it like nerve wracking at first?
Yeah, I mean, because what you don't see in like those videos is like, especially if it's a bigger artist, like a major label artist, they have a whole team like behind you. You know what I'm saying? So we're doing an interview, but there's a whole team of people watching what you're doing. And you're basically trying to block out the fact that you got all these people, and they're trying to look for a reason to like stop the interview. They're trying to make sure you don't say anything dumb, like make their artist look a little weird, whatever it is. They're very protective, so you got to kind of just block them out, and block out what's going on around you and try to focus on getting a good interview. And then, obviously it's nerve-wracking at first, kind of gotten used to it now, but when you got an artist that you're actually like a fan of, that you sit there watching YouTube videos of, and now it's in front of you, and you're supposed to sit there and have an interview with them. Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking at first for sure.
I mean, I always get nervous, like I tell people all the time, like, it could be a local artist, local businessman, until like someone that's like in the industry. Like I get nervous, but like I told Samantha earlier, I was like, my coach always telling me like, if you ain't nervous, you don't care. So
I mean, if you're not doing something that makes you a little nervous, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's like you want to build something, and you want to continue to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You want it to be good. You don't want to come across as like an amateur. You don't want somebody sitting there like, damn, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? So that's like the biggest thing too, is like, I don't want so-and-so artist to come in there and be like, yo, like, why would my team still be able to do this? This is whack. You know what I mean? Like, what? This is, unprofessional, whatever it is. So you always want to try to, give off just a good vibe, and try and, not come across as, like you don't know what the fuck you're doing,
Yeah, that's true. So you originally from Jersey City, New Jersey?
I live in Jersey City now. I was born in the Bronx. I went to like elementary school in the Bronx, and then did like high school and all that in South Playfield, New Jersey, which is like, it's a smaller town kind of by like New Brunswick, New Jersey, Rutgers University area. And then when I started working here in the city, I moved up to Jersey City to be close to the city.
Oh, so you from the Bronx, so you're a Yankees fan?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Y'all really stole my boy Staten, but it was time for him to go there. 'Cause honestly, I was just talking to an artist. Her name is Olivia King. Her brother actually played for the Yankees. She in the minor leagues.
Oh, nice.
But I was telling her, like, you know, it was time.